John Walker had never planned to visit the planet Leoria. He was an Earth engineer, working on space station repairs. He liked machines more than people, and his idea of fun was fixing broken systems and drinking black coffee in silence. But one day, after finishing a repair job early, he noticed a small transport shuttle offering a free ride to the nearby planet of Leoria for cultural exchange. Curious and a little bored, John shrugged and said, "Why not?" He didn't know that cultural exchange meant something very different on Leoria. The moment he stepped off the shuttle, John was greeted by beautiful green hills, floating crystal trees and tall, elegant beings with shimmering purple skin and golden eyes. The Leorians were peaceful and proud, known across the galaxy for their art, wisdom, and very complicated traditions. John, of course, had read none of this in the travel brochure. A cheerful local guide named Treen greeted him. "Welcome, visitor from Earth. It is a special day on Leoria. The ceremony of unity begins tonight. All guests are invited to attend." John blinked. "Ceremony of what? Unity?" Treen said with a wide smile. "Celebration of togetherness. You must come. It is an honor." John didn't want to be rude, so he nodded. Sure, why not? That evening, dressed in a borrowed robe, John stood inside a grand crystal dome filled with hundreds of Leorians. Everything sparkled. Music floated in the air like perfume. Strange glowing birds flew above their heads. At the center of the dome stood a tall, striking woman in silver armor. Her violet hair fell in waves, and a thin crown sat on her head. "That," whispered Treen beside John, "is Princess Zara. She chooses a partner tonight." "A partner?" John asked, confused. "For the ceremony," Treen said, "to show unity between worlds. She selects someone at random, purely symbolic." John nodded, only half listening. A Leorian server handed him a glowing cup. "Drink. It shows your willingness to join the ceremony." John shrugged and sipped the liquid. It tasted like honey and starlight. He didn't notice Treen's eyes go wide. "You drank the ritual cup?" Treen whispered. "You just told me to." No. No, that wasn't for you. That was for Ro. No." At that moment, the music stopped. The lights dimmed. Princess Zara stepped forward and raised her hand. "I, Zara, of House L3, Princess of Leoria, seek the one who has drunk the ritual cup of unity. Come forward." All eyes turned to John. He froze. "Wait, me? I thought..." Gasps echoed. Through the dome, Zara looked surprised, then narrowed her golden eyes as she stepped toward him. She studied his face. "You are not of Leoria?" No, I'm John. From Earth." "You drank the ritual cup?" "Yes, but I didn't know." "What it does not matter," Zara said firmly. "By the law of old, the cup binds the drinker to the royal choice. You are now the chosen." "Chosen for what?" John asked slowly. Zara looked directly into his eyes. "To be my husband." Silence. John's mouth opened, then closed. He turned to Treen. "Did she just say yes?" Treen whispered. "You're married now, to a princess. To the princess. You are now Prince Consort of Leoria." John fainted. He woke up in a large room with floating pillows, glowing flowers, and two nervous-looking servants staring at him. One of them bowed. "Welcome, Prince John. The princess awaits you." John sat up, holding his head. "Okay? Either I'm dreaming or I've made a huge mistake." Later, he found himself in a private garden with Princess Zara. She stood calmly by a fountain, her arms crossed. "You are awake," she said. "I am. And I guess this is real." "It is. I apologize for the shock."
Ow.
"Our traditions are ancient. Once the ritual cup is drunk, the choice is sealed." John rubbed the back of his neck. "Ah! But I didn't know. Shouldn't that matter?" "Leorian? Law is very clear. Intent does not matter when magic is involved. The bond is real." John blinked. "Wait, magic?" Zara's eyes softened slightly. "Yes, the ritual cup contains ancient energy. It linked you to me. You carry a part of My soul now, as I carry part of yours. That's kind of beautiful, but also really scary. I agree. They were quiet for a moment. Zara finally sighed. I had planned to choose a respected diplomat from the Andari sector. Someone strong, wise, and well, not human. Sorry. I ruined your plans, John muttered. She smiled slightly. Perhaps the stars have their own plans. Over the next few days, John tried to adjust. He had a private tutor who explained the customs of the court. He learned to bow a certain way, speak a few words in Leorian language, and never eat glowing fruit in front of elders, apparently. It meant you were challenging them to a duel. Zara remained distant but polite. She often went on royal duties. Alone, John was mostly treated like a polite tourist with a very strange badge, accidental husband of the crown. Still, the palace was incredible. The food was delicious. And deep down, John couldn't help but be curious. Why was there so much tension in the palace? Why did Zara always look worried when she thought no one was watching? And why did his room keep getting searched when he wasn't in it? One night, he found himself wandering the garden again, trying to clear his head. To his surprise, Zara was there, sitting alone by the fountain. Can't sleep either? John asked. She looked up. No, too much on my mind. John sat beside her. You know, I've only been here a few days, but even I can tell something's off. What's going on? Zara hesitated. Then she said, a neighboring system is threatening war. My marriage was supposed to seal an alliance. Now, with you. Everything is uncertain. John nodded slowly. So I really messed things up. You did not mean to, Zara said softly. And perhaps it is not all bad, you're honest. Brave enough to come here, and you fixed that heating crystal in the West Wing without being asked? That impressed my engineers. John smiled a little. I just saw it sparking. Couldn't help myself. He sat in silence again. This time, it felt a little less awkward. I don't know if I'm the prince you wanted, John said, but I'm here now. So if you need help with anything, I'm willing to try. Zara looked at him, and for the first time, her expression warmed. Very well, she said. Then let us see what fate has planned for us, John Walker of Earth. John Walker never thought he'd wake up every morning in a floating crystal bed, have his breakfast delivered by a servant with 4 arms, or bow to people with glowing skin. But that was his new life now, the life of a royal consort on planet Leoria. He still couldn't believe it. He had come for a simple vacation, and accidentally married an alien princess. John wasn't a hero. He wasn't a soldier, or a leader, or even very brave. He was an engineer from Earth who liked machines more than people. But now, he had to pretend he belonged in a royal court, filled with ancient traditions, magical laws, and very serious aliens. His first problem was the clothes. Every morning, his attendants dressed him in long robes made of glowing silk and golden shoes that curled at the toes. He looked like a magical space wizard, which made him feel ridiculous. One day he asked, "Can I just wear my old jacket?" The head attendant gasped. The princess's consort cannot wear rags from Earth. Okay, John muttered. No jacket. Got it. His second problem. The rules. There were hundreds of them. Never walk ahead of the princess, unless invited. Always bow before speaking. Do not touch the royal flowers. Never say the word smudge near the high priest. Always eat from the left side of the plate. One day at breakfast, John accidentally used the wrong spoon. An old alien lady across the table gasped, dropped her tea, and fainted. Seriously? John whispered to himself. But the biggest challenge of all was Zara. Princess Zara of Leoria was the kind of woman who had trained in both diplomacy and sword fighting by age 12. She could speak 10 languages, fly a battle cruiser, and lead armies. She was powerful, proud, and calm under pressure. And now she was married to him. Zara treated John politely, but from a distance. She spoke to him during public events, smiled when needed, and always kept conversations short and formal. John felt like a small, clumsy human who had no place next to a royal like her. Still, he tried to understand her world. One day he followed. Heard a meeting in the Royal Strategy Hall. Giant floating maps showed galaxy regions, star systems, and blinking threat zones. Zara stood at the center, surrounded by her advisors. John quietly stood at the back, listening. A general said the Varnock fleet has crossed the border again. They test our weakness. They believe your union with Earth is a joke. Another advisor added, you must speak with strength, princess. Perhaps end the false marriage. Zara's golden eyes narrowed. It is not false. John blinked. Wait, what? She continued, Earth is not weak. My husband may be untrained, but he has shown heart, honesty, and quick thinking. He is under my protection. The room went silent. John's ears turned red. After the meeting, Zara approached him in the hallway. You were listening, she said. I was curious, John admitted. Also thanks for defending me in there. Zara gave him a small smile. You do not belong here, John Walker. But you are trying. That counts for something. John looked down. Still feels like I'm messing everything up. Not everything, Zara said. Yesterday, you repaired the translator system in the East Tower. It has been broken for months. Oh yeah, I just rewired the amplifier crystal and sorry. I get carried away with tech talk. She chuckled. You're odd, John. But perhaps that's not a bad thing. Later that week, John decided to learn more about Leorian culture. He spent hours in the palace library, reading history books written in glowing script. He asked his tutor endless questions. He even practiced the royal greeting bow without falling. Over it took 8 tries, but one thing still confused him. The way people treated the ritual bond, everywhere he went. People called him your grace or prince consort, but he could tell they didn't fully accept him, as some whispered. Behind his back, others ignored him completely. One day, he asked Trine, his guide and only real friend in the palace, do they all hate me? Trine shook his head. No, not hate. But you broke a sacred tradition by accident. Many think you're unworthy. They believe the bond should be undone. Can it be undone? Yes, but only by the princess. John looked away. I'm not sure she even wants me around. Trine smiled. She didn't ask you to leave, did she? No. Then maybe she's not ready to let you go. That night, John couldn't sleep. So he did what he always did when he was stressed. He tinkered. He opened the back of a broken palace drone, rewired some circuits, and added a few Earth tools to make it hover smoother. A few hours later, the little drone zipped around the room, chirping happily. Zara walked in and stared at it. You fixed it. John looked up, surprised. Yeah, it's nothing fancy. Just needed some care. She watched the drone fly in a neat circle and return to its dock perfectly. Impressive, she said. I like fixing things, John said. When I was a kid, I used to fix old junk in my garage. I never thought I'd be doing it in a floating castle. Zara sat across from him. Tell me more about your Earth. John blinked. You want to know? I do. So he told her. About his childhood, his tiny home on Mars, Colony Alpha 7, the dog he once had, and the robot he built. From a toaster. He told her about Earth storms, real pizza, and how humans always find a way to make a joke, even during a crisis. Zara listened closely. When he finished, she smiled. Your people are strange, but I see now. They've strength in there. Strangeness. John laughed. That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said about humans. A few days later, Jean was invited to his first official royal banquet. It was huge. Dozens of alien nobles sat at long golden tables filled with glowing fruits, steamed vines, and dishes that moved on their own. Floating lights drifted above. Changing colors to match the mood of the music, John sat beside Zara, trying not to panic. A noble across the table sneered. So, Earthman, tell us, do your kind often stumble into royal marriages? John smiled politely. Only on weekends. The table went silent. Then a few nobles chuckled. Zara raised an eyebrow, hiding a smile. Later that night, Zara walked with John through the palace gardens. "You handled that well," she said. "I'm starting to think sarcasm is a survival tool," John said. Zara laughed. "You continue to surprise me." John stopped walking. "Zara, do you regret this? The bond?" She turned to him, serious. "I did. At first, but now I'm not sure. You bring something this place lacks. Humor, honesty, warmth." Rubbed his neck. "So, we're still married?" Zara nodded. "For now, let us see where this strange path takes us." They stood quietly as the twin moons of Leoria rose in the sky, their light casting silver shadows across the garden. John had no idea what the future held. For the first time since arriving, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't a mistake after all. John Walker woke up early in the Crystal Palace, sunlight shimmering through the walls. For once, he wasn't thinking about royal rules or how to bow correctly. Instead, he was worried about what Zara had said the night before the threat. From the Varnak fleet, the Varnak were a fierce alien group, known for their powerful warships and their desire to control the rich systems around Leoria. They did not like the idea of Leoria making new alliances, especially one with Earth. And now, with John as the prince consort, things were more complicated. John dressed quickly in the usual royal robes, though they still felt strange and heavy on him. He walked through the palace halls toward the war room, where Princess Zara and her council gathered every morning. The room was a large, round chamber filled with glowing star maps floating in midair. Bright points of light showed the locations of ships, planets, and space stations. Zara stood at the center, her eyes sharp and focused. "John," she said without turning, "come. Today we face a new challenge." John stepped forward. "What's happening?" "The Varnak fleet has moved closer. They have stationed warships near our outer colonies. This is no longer a simple test. It is an attack." John swallowed hard. "What can I do to help?" Zara turned to him with a serious look. "You must learn quickly. This is no longer just a royal ceremony. This is about survival." The council spoke in quick technical language about fleet movements, defense plans, and negotiation efforts. John listened, trying to understand every word. Suddenly, a general named Reth approached John. "You are from Earth, yes? Your people are known for their clever machines. Can you help us with strategy?" John nodded, surprised. "I'm not a soldier, but I can try." Reth smiled. "Good. We need all the help we can get." John spent the next hours studying star maps, learning about the Varnak's strengths and weaknesses. He was amazed at the technology Leoria had: ships faster than anything on Earth, energy shields that could block entire barrages of laser fire, weapons that could vaporize asteroids. But he also noticed something. The Varnak ships moved in predictable patterns, using simple logic and Earth-style problem-solving. John suggested a plan to Princess Zara and the council. "What if we use smaller, faster ships to sneak behind their lines and disrupt their supply routes?" he proposed. "We could slow them down without a full fight." Zara raised an eyebrow. "It is risky, but it could work," John added. "It would buy time for our main fleet to prepare." The council murmured among themselves. Zara looked at John and nodded slowly. "Very well. We will try your plan." The next days were full of activity. John worked alongside the pilots and engineers, learning to communicate in their language and understand their technology. He trained to use a small fighter ship, clumsy at first but improving quickly. Zara surprised him by sitting beside him during the training sessions. "You learn fast," she said. John smiled. "Thanks. I want to protect you and your people." She looked away, then back at him. "You protect more than you know." One night, as the Varnak fleet moved closer, John and Zara stood on the balcony overlooking the city lights. "We're running out of time," Zara said softly. John nodded. "Are you scared?" "Of course," she admitted. "But fear does not control me. I lead." John put his hand on hers. "You don't have to do this alone?" Zara met his gaze. "No, now I don't." The battle began at dawn. The sky above, Leoria filled with fast ships and glowing laser beams. Explosions lit up the dark clouds. John flew his small fighter, nervous but determined. Using the plan, he and a squadron slipped behind the Varnak fleet, attacking supply ships and creating chaos. The Varnak were surprised and confused. Their main fleet slowed down, giving Leorian forces time to organize. Zara led the main fleet. From her command ship, calm and commanding, John watched in awe as she directed each move with precision. After hours of fighting, the Varnak retreated. Their ships disappeared into the dark stars. Leoria was safe for now. John landed his fighter, exhausted but proud. Zara was waiting, her eyes shining. "You did well," she said. "So did you," John replied. "I'm glad I'm here." Zara smiled. "Yes, am I." That night, as the palace celebrated their victory, John realized something important. He might not be a warrior or a leader by training, but his heart, his courage, and his willingness to learn made him part of something bigger. He was no longer just a visitor or an accident. He was a prince. The victory against the Varnak fleet brought a short moment of peace to Leoria. The skies were quiet, and the palace buzzed with celebration. But John Walker knew the war was far from over. Even as the nobles drank glowing wine and danced under the crystal chandeliers, the battle had shown him the strength of Leoria, but also its hidden dangers. That morning, John woke early and found Princess Zara in the palace gardens. She was standing by the crystal fountain, staring at the water as if it held answers. "Morning," John said softly. Zara didn't turn. "Morning, John. You look tired." "I am. Fighting a war is harder than fixing machines." She finally looked at him. "You are learning quickly." John smiled weakly. "I'm trying. There's something I don't understand." "What? Why were we attacked? Does someone want to hurt Leoria so badly?" Zara sighed. "Because of power? Because not everyone agrees with my rule?" John frowned. "You mean enemies inside the palace?" She nodded. "Yes, there are those who want to see me fail. They believe a different leader would be stronger. They plot in the shadows." John felt a chill. "That sounds dangerous." "It is," Zara said. "I must be careful. Trust is rare." Later that day, John was called to the palace's inner chambers. The air was cool, and soft lights shimmered from the walls. A tall, serious man named Varric awaited him. He was the princess's chief advisor, known for his loyalty and sharp mind. "John," Varric said, "the palace is not as safe as it seems. There are spies among us. We believe some nobles work with the Varnak." John's heart raced. "Spies? But why?" "Power," Varric replied. "They want to weaken the princess and take control of Leoria's resources." John nodded slowly. "What can I do to help?" Varric looked at him carefully. "You have the trust of the princess. That gives you a unique position. Watch and learn. Not speak too much, but be alert." John felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This was more than fixing machines or flying ships. This was about survival and loyalty. That night, John couldn't sleep. He paced his room, thinking about the dangers around him. Suddenly, a soft noise came from the window. He turned to see a shadow move quickly across the balcony. Without thinking, John grabbed a small energy blade kept for emergencies, crept to the window and looked outside in the moonlight. He saw a figure slipping into the garden below, a woman in dark clothes. Moving like a cat, John decided to follow. Outside the garden was quiet, except for the soft rustling of leaves. John moved carefully, keeping to the shadows. The woman stopped by a hidden door beneath the ancient tree. She whispered words in a language John didn't understand, and the door slid open silently. John hesitated, then stepped inside. The room was a secret chamber filled with screens showing palace corridors, star maps, and private meetings. The woman was not alone. Two men stood with her, watching the images carefully. John recognized one of the men, Lord Kieran, a noble who had always looked down on him. The woman spoke again. "The prince consort is suspicious. We must act before he learns." "Too much," Kieran nodded. "Agreed. The Varnak will return soon. We need to be ready." John's heart pounded. He realized he had found the traitors. He backed away quietly, but a loose stone slipped under his foot. "Who's there?" Kieran shouted. John ran the sounds of pursuit close behind him. He darted through the gardens, dodging trees and jumping over glowing streams. His heart pounded like a drum, just as he thought he was caught. Zara appeared at the far end, her sword glowing bright. "John," she called. "This way." He ran to her, and together they raced through secret tunnels back to the palace. Breathless, John looked at Zara. "They're traitors. Inside the palace?" She nodded grimly. "I feared as much." "We have to stop them," John said. "We will. We must be careful. One wrong move could start a war inside the palace walls." John swallowed. "I'm ready." The next days were tense. John trained with the palace guards, learning combat skills he never imagined he'd need. Zara trusted him more, sharing plans and secrets. Together, they uncovered messages between the traitors and the Varnock fleet. The nobles planned to open the palace gates when the enemy arrived. John felt the weight of their failure. He had come to Leoria by accident, but now he was part of a fight for the planet's future. One evening, in a quiet moment, Zara took John's hand. "You've changed since you arrived," she said softly. "You are no longer just an accidental husband. You are a true partner." John smiled, feeling hope bloom inside him. "We'll protect Leoria," he said. "Together." She nodded. "Together." But the shadows in the palace grew darker. The traitors moved closer to their goal, and the war outside waited to break loose again. John knew the greatest battle was yet to come. John Walker stood on the highest tower of the Crystal Palace, looking out across the glowing city of Leoria. The sky was dark, but not with night. It was the shadow of approaching warships. The Varnock fleet had returned, and this time they were not testing defenses. They were coming to conquer. John turned as Princess Zara joined him, dressed in her silver armor, her expression calm but hard. "They are almost here," she said. John nodded. "And the traitors? We've caught 2 of them. Lord Kieran escaped." John clenched his fists. "He'll open the gates for the Varnock." Zara's voice was steady. "He will try, but we will not let him." The palace had changed. Guards now stood at every hallway corner. Secret tunnels were sealed. Communication lines were watched carefully. John had never seen the palace so tense. Nobles whispered in fear. Servants moved quickly, avoiding eye contact. Everyone was waiting for the sky to break. In the war room, the council gathered one last time. The floating map showed hundreds of Varnock ships moving toward Leoria's atmosphere. "We are outnumbered," General Reth said. But not. Outsmarted, Zara turned to John. "Are the defenses ready?" John nodded. "I used Earth tech to link our shield systems. They'll hold longer now. Also, I created a jamming field that can block their coms for a little while." The council looked impressed. John was no longer the awkward outsider. He was now a key part of the plan. Zara gave the order, "Prepare for battle." As alarms echoed across the palace, John stood beside Zara in the main control tower. The first blasts from Varnock ships lit up the sky, shaking the ground beneath them. Energy shields flared to life, protecting the city. "They're going to try and land inside," Zara said. "Through the gates." John looked at the lower sections of the palace. "Kieran will be there." Zara nodded. "You must stop him." "I'll lead the air fleet." John's eyes widened. "Me? Stop him. You're the only one he doesn't fear. Use that." She gripped his shoulder. "Be careful." John nodded. "You too." With Trine by his side, John rushed down to the palace's lower levels. Explosions above shook dust from the ceiling as they ran through tunnels. They reached the western gate, a massive golden wall that led directly to the outer airfields. If Kieran opened it, the Varnock could land troops right in the heart of Leoria. John spotted Kieran near the control panel, guarded by 2 heavily armed soldiers. Kieran turned, sneering. "Ah, the Earth boy. Should have stayed lost in space." John didn't reply. He tossed a small EMP device behind the guards. It exploded with a flash, knocking out their weapons. Trine rushed forward. tackling one guard while John charged at Kieran. Kieran fought back hard. He was stronger, faster, and trained. But John was angry and determined. They crashed into the wall. Kieran tried to pull a blade, but John slammed his elbow into Kieran's ribs and knocked him down. Kieran gasped. "You don't belong here," John growled. "Maybe not. But I married the princess, didn't I?" With one final punch, Kieran went unconscious. John sealed the gate controls and locked them with a new passcode. Trine grinned. "That was impressive." John wiped his face. "Let's hope that was the last door he opens, above in the skies." Of Leoria, Princess Zara led her fleet with fierce precision. Her voice rang through the command channel. "Hold the line. Do not let them pass." She flew through the battle herself, her ship dancing between enemy fire, destroying one Varnock vessel after another. Suddenly, a massive war cruiser entered the battlefield. Its cannons glowed bright red. Zara's second in command gasped. "That's their flagship. They're targeting the palace." Zara narrowed her eyes. "We end this now." Back on the ground, John heard the alert. The Varnock flagship was preparing to fire a planet breaker cannon. "It'll destroy the palace," Trine shouted. John ran to the control station. "Wait. We can reroute the shield energy. I added a feedback loop earlier. If I push it to max, the blast might bounce back." "But it could overload and explode," Trine warned. John hesitated. Then he smiled. "Well, let's hope Earth engineering holds up." He pressed the final switch in space. Just as the Varnock flagship fired, a huge wave of energy rose from the palace. The beam hit the shield, which shimmered then blasted the energy straight back. The flagship was struck. A massive explosion filled the sky. Pieces of the enemy ship fell like burning stars. The remaining Varnock ships began to retreat. Zara's fleet chased them, ensuring they did not return. Later that night, silence returned to Leoria. The skies were clear. The palace still stood. John sat on the palace balcony, his arm bandaged, his face bruised, but his heart full. Zara joined him, removing her crown and placing it gently on the table beside her. "You saved Leoria," she said softly. "We saved it," John replied. Together, looked at him for a long moment. "When we first met, you were confused, lost, and clumsy." "Thanks," John said with a smirk. "But now," she continued, "you are a prince, not just by title, but by heart." John chuckled. "And to think I just came here on vacation?" Zara smiled. "Now you have a planet." They sat in silence, watching the stars return to their places. In the days that followed, the traitors were arrested. New alliances were formed with Earth. Peace treaties were signed across nearby systems. John and Zara became symbols of unity between two worlds, and though John still forgot small palace rules now and then, like which spoon to use, no one cared anymore, because he had earned something much bigger than respect. He had earned a home.